Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland. This video is about Trump's trade war against China. Well, he declared war a couple of months ago, and now the first shots in this trade war have been fired. Well, he gave the Chinese some warning, which is obviously going to make his policies less effective, as they've had time to take countermeasures to find different markets. Well, what does it involve? So the United States will be putting up certain tariffs on particular Chinese products, and the Chinese hit back. They are putting up certain tariffs on American exports, which some consumers in China might buy. Notably, neither country has actually prohibited people from purchasing particular products in the other country. If it's that bad, if competition is so unacceptable, why not make it illegal to purchase whatever item it is for the other country? So China can hit back, as the United States is about to discover. Now, I don't know of any Democrats in favour of this trade war, and quite a few Republicans aren't either. Now, the devil can speak true. Trump says all sorts of things, contradicts himself non-stop. So yes, occasionally he says things that are valid, like the People's Republic of China cheats on intellectual property on a huge scale. That's nothing new. People have known about that for 3 decades. Well, the United States was working together with other countries to try and tackle that issue. It was called the Trans-Pacific Partnership, something which Trump pulled the United States out of last year, I think it was. So Trump has reduced the chances of the United States dealing with that issue successfully. Trump claims trade wars are easy to win. Does he? Which trade war has been won? When? By whom? Maybe it's happened, but I don't know of a single example, and I'm quite well clued up on history. He didn't furnish an example. None of his spokespeople have said that there's an example they can point to either. Now, some Republicans would say, oh, look back to Ronald Wilson Reagan, that upstanding Republican president. When in the 80s, he did something similar towards West Germany and Japan. Well, the United States was much stronger, had a much greater share of world trade back then. They're both military allies of the United States. They couldn't afford to hack off the United States. They were worried about communist governments attacking them. West Germany was on the front line in the Cold War, so they weren't going to aggravate the USA too much. So the situation is not the same. Trump's got an attitude that's decades out of date. He's living in the past, as in so many ways, as though the United States really has the lion's share of world manufacturing. Now, no question, the United States is the largest economy in the world. We know that, but it's not by such a long way as it was before. China's breathing down their neck. When is China going to become the largest economy in the world? 10 years from now? 20 years from now? Okay, maybe it won't happen, but they will at least run America a close second. China is gigantic. There are all sorts of reasons why Trump's policy is not going to work for the United States. Well, put bluntly, the Chinese government does not care about its people. As recently as the 60s, millions of Chinese people, and no exaggeration, millions, starved to death. And that was a deliberate policy of the Chinese government, up to 20 million people in just a few years. There's a controlled media, so negative repercussions will not be reported in China. They can say it's obviously completely America's fault if anything goes wrong, and it's just malice on the part of the United States, and there'll be an element of truth in that, make it all the more credible. If Facebook is blocked, YouTube is blocked, lots of things are blocked in the United States, so there's a total censorship. And the Chinese think in very long timescales. They're one of the oldest civilizations in the world, with writing for, 4,000 years? So they also have many other countries to trade with. They got their Silk Road strategy, developing cordial links with dictatorships in Central Asia. They've got an economic corridor they're building through Pakistan in terms of rail links to ports on the coast of Pakistan. They're buying up property like Bilio in Africa, been doing that for almost 20 years, owning farms and factories there. They've got very amicable relations with many countries around the world. I see Chinese people in so many countries, like in Moscow, in their droves. So they don't need America as badly as America needs them. As Hillary Clinton said 10 years ago, how do you lecture your banker? The United States borrows from China so much. The Chinese are great savers, by the way. There are no real elections in China. It's a one-party state. President Xi doesn't have to worry about the midterms. Trump does. You may have noticed, and Trump sung Xi's praises, China's constitution has been altered. It is possible to have unlimited presidential terms. The president's got almost untrammeled power in China, and now he can easily serve for life. He's been elevated to the same status as Mao Zedong. It's official. So He is much mightier than Trump in that sense. No restrictions on what he can do, and he can take whatever necessary measures he needs to win this trade war. So the US has got to worry about its electoral cycle. Trump may be out of office in 2 years, at the most 6 years. But where are the Republicans? Now, it's true that some Republicans have spoken out against this and some corporations, but not enough. They need to be vociferous. Business must protest. The Republican Party is the party of business. If the grand old party is not speaking up for America's commercial interests, what does the Republican Party exist for? Because this is going to hurt a lot more people than it helps. And even if it does win, even if America does win, and it works when? In a year? 10 years? What would victory look like? Trump, of course, hadn't spelled that out. He's not a details man. All these particulars are not on his radar screen. That would be Trump lowering taxes on what, or allowing in which products, or not cheating on intellectual property, and how would you define that? What's the measure of success? There'd be no details provided whatsoever. A bit like the North Korea deal. It's all completely broad brush stroke. So that's why he would claim victory even if there's none. The Chinese can tough it out. They've got a huge economy. They've got 1.3 billion people, and they are used to poverty. It's now a middle-income country, heading towards being a high-income country, but not long ago they lived very simply indeed, and they could put up with it. The Chinese government doesn't really mind that many of its people die avoidably through cancer due to excessive pollution. They don't have any environmental protection laws worth the name. And they have craftily targeted Trump voters. It's not a blanket tariff from them. They are cunning enough to put tariffs on products which are particularly manufactured in key swing states. It's going to hit the white blue collars who were a crucial demographic for Trump. So they may not break so heavily for Trump next time. Trump's 10% behind in approval ratings, minus 10. So I'd say that'll sink about 1 percentage point per month between now and the midterms in November. Now, it'll drag the Republican Party down a bit. Of course, voting for a Republican as your congressman or to be in the Senate or to governor or whatever it is, for state legislature, that's not quite the same as voting for Trump, but there is obviously some linkage there. So, knowing what Trump's like, he could change his mind today. He is notorious for his caprice. These tariffs from the Chinese will start to bite in the United States. The US stock market's already taken a hit. Somewhat depends whether you look at the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones. So some stocks have been stagnant for the last few months, and they were roaring ahead in the first year of Trump, and that was to his credit. But there's been a lot of economic slowdown, and that's mainly due to him. And then he's doing it at such a moronic time, wanting to take on more and more enemies in this trade war, not getting the European Union on his side, insulting them, and indeed wanting trade wars with Canada and so on. Who benefits? Well, Trump's paymaster. I don't think I need to say who that is. So it will actually enfeeble and impoverish the United States, not make America richer. There may be a few special interests who do get a bit richer in the short term, but for the generality of the public, it's going to make matters worse. The man in the street is going to be out of pocket because of Trump's asinine policies, his failure to do his homework. So the effect will probably be felt in the midterms and the next presidential election. I'm not saying I guarantee that Trump's going to lose it. A lot depends what happens in the next 2 years, and there are many other areas of policies. He may start a war because that makes presidents more popular, at least in the short term. I don't know who his opponent will be, things like that. Republicans have got to speak out against this one and persuade him to reverse course. It happened over these child separations, children being taken away from their parents who were illegal immigrants. Trump, he was tough, it was crucial, it was vital to national security, and in a day, it was all over. That's why nobody can trust him. Trump is totally unreliable. He can't even rely on himself. Trump is being very foolish again, and I don't think this trade war is going to work out well for the United States. The US may well end up with its tail between its legs. Another thing is the Chinese are the only ones who have significant leverage over North Korea. People's Republic of China is responsible for about 90% of North Korea's trade, and they can therefore turn up this North Korean problem, as they're already starting to do, with the North Koreans expanding their missile installations, and they will only reduce support for North Korea if the United States starts to play ball on trade. That's why Trump is very foolish. He's chosen a very mighty enemy. Talk about tough, they're tough. They're a country which saw tens of millions of its people die fighting the Japanese. They're willing to endure a level of suffering that Occidentals can scarcely imagine.